Hello, everybody, and welcome to
Hey.
another stand-up for the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. Looks like we've got a smaller than normal turnout today. Lots of folks are sick. I myself was in bed all last week battling sickness, so something's go around, but hopefully everybody's feeling better. And we might even have some guest appearances. I see James and Alicia in the comments. I reached out to you guys. Maybe you can come join us when we talk about media element and ratings view. But Sean, Cliff, how are you doing?
Hello. Good to hear.
Good.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So doing well. So just need it to stop raining in the UK now. If you could send some of that sunshine our way, that'd be great.
Yeah,
You can
I'll be.
see behind Sean, it's tipping it with rain. So
No, that's just a dirty window. Actually, it's been dry this today.
looks like it's raining on the camera feed.
Yeah, no, the
Uh,
kids have used like drawable paint on the windows. We're starting to clean that off.
oh yeah, you can see it. Oh yeah, there's a bear. You move your head to one side, you can see the bear. There
That's a
you go.
koala.
A koala. That's
Nice.
it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Obvious,
Sorry,
it's a koala. Is
I've got
that
a
the
puppy
newest
here as well,
member
and
of
he's
the
trying
Lawrence
to
household?
chew my charging cable. Come here. She's quite a keen chewer at the moment.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness. Love
trying to
it.
work out
Love
if
it.
it's food or not. No. Is that food? I
well,
don't know.
uh, Well, let's jump into it, gang. So, as always, you can find and follow along with our agenda today. I'll post this in the comments here. This is just on our GitHub wiki. So, if you navigate to our wiki, you'll always be able to find all of our monthly stand ups, and you can find today's for May, as well as links to every stand up as well. Uh, but the first thing I want to chat about, gang, and we'll say this is pending Gerald, because Gerald does all our releases for us. But we've been merging a bunch of PRs recently, so this last couple weeks, and I think we're ready for another release, probably long overdue in the eyes of many. So what I'm thinking, looking at the current PRs that we've merged, we've fixed some bugs in Media Element. Shout out to James. Hopefully, you're able to join us in a couple minutes. We fixed some bugs in the Maps NuGet package. There was a bug on Windows where it was something with pins and the pins going away. But the best part about this, totally done by the community. So thank you so much for fixing that bug. And then for the Maui Community Toolkit, the one we know and love, um, I've got it listed for version 9, but it's really just bug fixes. We just had a couple of breaking changes, a couple performance improvements, lots of bug fixes in there. But we do want to be cognizant of any time we break the public API to bump that major version number. So, yes, it looks like version 9 might have some fun new features in it, but uh, more of just bug fixes with a couple breaking changes to the public APIs. Let's see, Sean, I remember you did one of the bug fixes, breaking changes. That was for a converter, right?
Yes, the compare converter. It wasn't particularly user friendly in XAML, so I've made a change that makes it easier to use. But it did change the structure slightly. I think we take two type arguments now rather than one.
Yeah, I didn't have it on the agenda, but you want to share your work?
Yeah, sure. So actually, I think I closed this issue before, and then when I started to write the documentation, it's like this doesn't feel right. So I went down a route of trying to use a type converter to see if we could magically convert the XAML value into what we needed, and that's when I actually discovered it was trying to convert it into an icomparable, which the XAML it just didn't parse particularly well. So that's we've kept that converter, so that won't necessarily break people. But if they've inherited from our base compare converter, then they will be broken.
Yeah, yeah, I love this idea. And to be honest, I don't know why we we didn't do like this originally. But yeah, pretty simple update. Adding in the, well, really this is, yeah, the break and change down here, right?
Yeah,
Adding in the
yeah, that's it.
ability to pass in the value and the return type.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, for compare converter, as long as T value is an I comparable, use it however you want.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas I think before, yeah, we just kind of had it buried. So we were forcing you into I
I comparable.
comparable and
Yes, yeah. Which didn't play well
yeah,
when
but
you were trying to use it in XAML, that's for sure. Yeah. But we
yeah,
ship with an example now as well in the docs and in the sample app. There's a that compare to double
that's
and
right.
the other file there. So yeah,
That's right. We
it
even
makes it a
got
lot easier to write as well, which is nice.
doc updates coming your way too. So,
Of course.
so, so yeah, fun. Again, what we would probably call bug fixes, but breaking changes to the APIs. So, don't want to push through anything without bumping that, or don't want to push through a breaking change without bumping the major version number. So, yeah, we'll circle up with Gerald. Hopefully, we can get some releases out on Friday because we love releasing on Friday on the Toolkit team. But if not, expect these sometime next week. And with that, I say we jump into. Oh,
Obviously, they can get the nightly build if they want to test it now. They don't need to wait for the release, do they? So if you do want to test and make sure that it's going to work on Monday morning, then you can always sort of get the nightly build over the weekend.
yeah, of course. Let's see if I can show that real quick. So yeah, if you ever go back to, and you can just grab it off our main branch, you can dig into our Azure pipelines here. So there's a couple steps, but if you make it to Azure pipelines, then you'll find the NuGet artifacts here. And this is where you can just say download, and that's where you can get all those um, nightly builds of the latest NuGet packages hot off the presses. So, if, yeah, like Cliff said,
There's, I wrote,
make sure it
is
works.
there a doc? I thought there's a
There is a
doc
wiki
somewhere that
page.
explains how
Yeah,
to do it. Yeah, it's in the wiki, isn't it? I did
yeah.
write one a few months back.
Yeah, where do
You scroll up.
preview packages?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
There you go.
Look, look at us documenting stuff like professionals. Beautiful. Okay, cool. Yeah. So
Yeah.
go into the Azure feeds. Love it. Oh, even, yeah, using the feed URL. That's way smart. Nice, Cliff.
So there you go.
All right. So, yeah, jumping into the agenda here. So this is one that, as soon as it came in, was like, all right, this one's a big deal. And I'm hoping we have either somebody on the team or somebody in the community who knows Blazor, because I don't. But long story short, check out the CPU usage here when folks are using the MAUI Community Toolkit inside of the Blazor app, and specifically they're using it with Ant Blazor, the select component here. So again, I'm very outside my depth, but yeah, as soon as I saw this, it seems like something that we'd want to flag. Uh, how are you guys with Blazor?
I'd defer to Gerald. It's a surprising one, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, not a Blazor expert. I haven't had the time to dig into this, but I mean, based off these screenshots, it seems like something's certainly going on in the background. And yeah, curious as to how we would be impacting this.
George has
But
just said in the chat that he's working on Blazor, so I think he's now the resident expert.
oh, George, thanks so much for volunteering to fix this bug. So so here I'll share the link in the comments, and let's call it extreme CPU usage on Blazor. And yeah, would highly appreciate anybody out there if you're familiar with Blazor and have even just an inkling where to start or what it might be, or heck, is it even us? Is it maybe this Ant Blazor select component that is causing it? So let us know. Obviously, we'll circle back with the team to see if we have any Blazor experts. But TBD until then. To be super honest, I don't even think I really considered or had been considering Blazor as a platform, even though obviously it's .NET MAUI. So curious kind of how everything works with the .NET MAUI community toolkit on Blazor. Let's see, Matt saying to try the ant control in a plain HTML page. So no ants, just HTML and JS. And Matt, I'll say I understand those words. I know what HTML and JavaScript is, but that's about as far as I can go on that one. So, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll circle with the team. If nothing else, if I'm able to carve out some time to play around with this, I've got to jump back on a plane tomorrow for Tekka Ramen in Antwerp, but definitely want to keep an eye on this one. Actually, did Victor comment on it? Added the label. All right. Well, let's jump to the next one because this is one, Sean, I know you and I have chatted about this a little bit, and I'll add this to the comments here. And yeah, this is one, Sean, where we were chatting about, is this is it a documentation problem or is it something that we can actually fix in our library? But basically, Android physical device playing a stream URL, the app goes into the background, the audio stops after 2 to 3 minutes. However, when the device is connected to a power source, the audio continues to play for hours. And if we scroll down, yeah, so there we go. So we had a recommendation from Chris. So he was saying it's really, this is like a background thing. You know, iOS and Android, they're always very strict on resources that you're allowed to use in your app unless you ask explicitly for that permission. And so what he pointed out and recommended was there's info you can add to the info P list, and here's how you can do it on iOS. And yeah, I think this is great, but as far as I know, there's no way for us as a library to inject anything into your info P list. You know, we could add some additional code in the app, but again, does every developer want this feature? Do they want it to continue running in the background all the time? If we turn this on, we might potentially cause some 1-star reviews down the line where a developer might not realize that this is turned on and they deploy their app to the App Store. User leaves the app running in the background. The app's chewing through battery. Their volume's turned down, so they have no idea that the audio is still playing. So all sorts of crazy scenarios here. But
if I could just jump in, James is in the
please do.
Private chat. He said that I think the Android one he thinks is fixed. He said there's an issue with that backgrounding Android and it's fixed in his PR. And here is James.
Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Sorry, I didn't see you snuck in.
Yes, I've actually, in the PR that I've been working on, added the feature to basically only background when we're actually playing video. So if you pause the video or stop it, it will automatically stop backgrounding.
Okay, awesome. So
it's basically, I went into the docs and removed the code for that because it was no longer required. It's just a fully automatic process. So you pause or stop the video, it just removes itself completely from backgrounding. And when you start playing, it starts backgrounding.
Is this issue not saying the opposite? They want the opposite behavior. They want it to stay run.
Yeah, the bug is that it stops.
No, it starts automatically. Like when you stop playing, like if you hit the stop button, you want to release the resources because any other app then can like take over the audio or take over that type of stuff. You don't want to hog it for like 10 hours.
Agreed. Uh, so yeah,
That's not what the bug says, though, is it? The
No,
bug says
I interpret it the opposite way.
yeah.
They might want to be able to write their own music player app, and therefore they want to be able to run it in the background. But I mean, this highlights the fact that developers aren't. There's not a one size fits all for developers.
So but you read their current behavior. It says when it's plugged into a power source, it runs without interruption. So is this us or is this Android like killing the background task because it wants to save the battery?
yeah, that's my assumption that it's Android.
It would be killing the app in the background because of the battery. One of the things that my PR does is it makes Media Element basically a service. So it runs basically as a foreground service while you're playing video. As soon as you stop the video, even if the player is still active, it turns off the service and removes it because you're not playing video. You're not playing audio. And there's also associated things like Bluetooth that hooks to Bluetooth and goes, hey, I'm in charge right now. And like if you get an incoming call, it will automatically mute the audio, pause the video, and let you switch. And if you choose not to, it will automatically start playing again. But you would have to manually reject the call first.
And James, which PR is that? Is this the one that's still open?
The one that's still open, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a ton of work.
Yes, I mean, 1,000 lines of code.
Yeah, I'd say almost 900 of that was API 26 to 30. 33 and 34 could be broken down under 100 lines.
Oh, goodness. So let's see. So it kind of sounds like the sense I'm getting on this issue specifically is we should wait till we merge James's PR, and then we can circle back and see, is this what you're expecting now? Because it sounds like the new PR might change some things and might, or certainly will modify how we would handle this. But I think even then, it still feels like a documentation thing, where we should show developers how to enable it. Like if you want to have long running background tasks, but I'm not sure if we can, because again, like on iOS, you need info plist additions or entitlements. I forget which plist, but also, yeah, just probably not by default, since I could see us being yelled at for like media element causes battery drain.
For media element, it already, like with the PR, it does generate a service, but the service is very short-lived in the sense that it only lives as long as you're actually playing media. If you pause it, or say, like you get a phone call and another app takes over, it will turn off its own backgrounding service automatically. There's a whole bunch of conditions for that.
Okay. Yeah, so I think for as far as today goes, as far as this issue goes, why don't we? Oh, I'm not signed in. Ah, dang it! I'm in a different browser, not signed in to GitHub. But I think at least for now, we'll add a blocks label, and we'll just say that we're gonna essentially block this issue until we get your PR James merged, and then circle back, verify the new behavior with this user, and we may end up just closing this issue and opening up a new one based on how they report back. But yeah, in the comments we showed on the screen a second ago, I think I agree with Matt Leibowitz that there's two issues. They're not totally mutually exclusive, and I'm with you, James. I think if you stop, it should release. That's good by default, and then this user here is saying they want to keep playing. So we'll circle back in probably update the docs. That's kind of the gut feeling I have.
I think that makes
All
sense.
right,
That does make sense, yeah.
cool. Well, the next the next PR we're going to review was the camera review, and that was more just to see if Gerald had any updates. I know he's been working with these folks on it. Oh, Sean, you had a review.
It's actually on. Yeah, I think it's in my. Well, so I've given it a review. There are some bits I think we want to change, but I think it's looking pretty good. Small things like it's brought in a dependency on the MVVM toolkit, which we don't want to ship with.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't mind picking up and kind of making some of those changes. I think the review was a little while ago, but I had delayed a bit, so I'm happy to try and see this getting over the line, because this is quite a popular feature. The only thing is
Yeah,
it doesn't
another big one.
currently support Mac. That's the only. Well, you can see in the title there.
Mm.
I've got Windows, Android, and iOS. So whether we're happy to ship just that. I mean, I suspect the majority of users wouldn't have supported Mac, at least on Xamarin Forms anyway.
Yeah, I'd be cool. I mean, I think the only ask that I would have is before we merge the PR, that we just open an issue or proposal or whatever we want to call it to add Mac Catalyst support, just so we have it logged, we're aware of it. Because if we don't do it, somebody else will, right? Someone's guaranteed to come back and say, "Hey, this doesn't work on the Mac." We're like, yeah, we know. But that's great. I didn't realize it was so close.
Is there a reason it's blocked on Mac? Is it a Mac issue, or is it a hardware issue with Mac, or is it just the fact that whoever's doing the work?
I don't think they had a Mac to do it on. I did offer to have a look, so it might hold up the PR a bit, but I can look at it, or we could do it in a follow-up PR. But I'm happy to take on the Mac work.
I think a follow-on PR would work. It gets it out there then, because I know this is something that I get asked a lot about as well. Yeah, this camera view and Bluetooth are the two that I'm always asked about. So
we're not putting Bluetooth in the toolkit.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. I'm always asked about. Yeah, I totally agree. So if you want Bluetooth, go and see Shiny.
So Sean, it sounds like this is pretty close then. And I'll be honest. I mean, I haven't reviewed it yet, but it's still in draft. Is this ready to promote from draft to ready for review?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
I'll do that now, shall I?
Yeah, that's always one of my cues, because somebody opens a draft PR. Oh, cool! Like I'll take a look at it. Like, all right, yeah, it's coming along. Somebody opens ready to review. Well, now we got to review it, right? Okay, cool. That's exciting. So maybe we could get that merged in May. Is that too ambitious?
I don't.
Perfectly ambitious. All right. You heard it here. You heard it here first, folks. Camera review hopefully coming in May.
Gerald is off screen screaming at the camera. Don't promise that. No, stop it.
Gerald said it would be cool. Thanks, Gerald. All right. Well, James, you're the guest host. You're the star of the show now. The lock screen controls, again, this is another big PR we were chatting about before we kicked off the live stream, that, camera view, a couple thousand lines of code, lock screen PR for media element, over 1,000 lines of code. Big PRs we don't want to let go stale. So James, fill us in. How's this one coming along? How close are we here with the lock screen controls?
We're pretty close. What I really need is for people to take a look at it and bang away at it and try and find any bugs. Right now, because I've been working on it for such a long time, I don't see any. I'm sure there are, issues where it's not necessarily functionality, but just basic behavior. It's it adds notifications to both Android, iOS, Windows, and Mac on the lock screen. and also on the taskbar on the Mac and the Windows. And it works on currently on all the supported APIs for Android. That was an interesting learning process for me. One I hopefully won't go through again. But anyways, there's a few cosmetic things like the fast forward and rewind buttons between certain API levels are different, if only because the actual media controls themselves for Android 33 and 34 are limited right now because of we have to wait for Android X in order for me to have more access. It's actually a binding issue for that. Like I literally can't implement it. Certain features like right now the play pause, like all the functionalities there, but actually say adding a fast forward rewind button for Android 33 and 34 isn't something I can do currently. Short of rewriting bindings manually myself and convincing you to say, hey, it's okay, which is never going to happen.
Gotcha.
And there's
Okay,
just a
cool.
few little things like that. And I found out from Victor that it does things I wasn't even aware of, which was you can, at least on iOS, I can broadcast to my Mac. And I can do it from the lock screen.
Whoa.
And, like
Cool.
one of the nice things is the Bluetooth functionality in Android is fully functional now. So, the main thing for that would be, a few things is the behavior for Bluetooth can be set by the developer. I'm thinking for the initial PRs, we'll just set a basic focus and see, because right now it's set that if any other app demands focus, it gets that focus. It goes by the Android default behavior. For every device, I've set it for the default behavior where it can be set. So what would be expected by most devices when you're using it on that piece of hardware?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And
Yeah.
kind of like you said, certainly for a V1, I think it's fair to default to, I think
Well,
pausing, I agree, is the right move.
well, one thing Victor convinced me of is if I had done everything I'd wanted to, the PR would be 10 times larger and it would never get read. So he convinced me to lower it a little bit to, like I had subtitles, everything in there, and I was like, no, you really don't need to do that. Like you can do that in another PR separately.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of the touch behavior PR was over 5,000 lines of code. And yeah, that took me a couple weekends to review. So, okay, great. Yeah, we'll follow up with Victor on this, and maybe this is also going to be a May release.
Hopefully.
All right, love that. And so Matt was also saying in the comments that that we could ping Molejack about the bindings. So Matt, if you can throw in another comment, should we ping him here on this pull request? Should we have yeah? Should we have should we have James ping him here on this PR, or do you think it'd be better we could open up another issue and have a discussion there? But let us know what you think. But either way, James, looks like we've got a contact here to
Okay.
help you with those missing bindings. Let's see. Matthew says, "Okay, open an issue in the Android X repo." All right, love
Sounds
this. This
good.
is incredible.
This is
James, it's so
great.
cool having
Things
you
are
here,
happening.
Matthew.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was feel we should send Matthew a link to join the stream too. Let's see. Okay. So he says they're always looking for a good excuse to update the bindings for the latest Android X stuff. So looks like we got one. Let's go. All right.
Thumbs up.
Cool. Super productive day. All right. And James, you're totally welcome to stick around. But that is the last media element we're going to chat about. But your feedback and input's been great so far. So would love for you to continue hanging out while we talk about the rating view. Let me drop a link to this while we're chatting about it. So kind of like with the others, this is more of an update. Alicia, if you're still around, I sent you the link to join the stream if you want to jump in. Now's the time. But basically, just want to give an update that we are still moving forward with this. Although if you look outside in, it might not look like it's gaining any traction. Because if we go back to the proposal, we still haven't approved the new feature yet. But Belize has been doing some awesome work on it, and I got to dive into it over the weekend and want to share with you where we're at now. So let's see, rating view. Here it is. So the big holdup when we first brought this to vote was like what is rating view going to inherit from? Because at first we're thinking, okay, well, it can inherit from a grid, and that works. It's just we wouldn't want the developer, the user, the consumer of rating view to be able to add their own children to the grid. So we're talking about ways around that, and there are ways around that. But where it's landed now is as a templated view. And to be honest, yeah, George, we went with, well, so currently going with templated view. But yeah, to be honest, I don't have a ton of experience with templated views myself. And so my request for the next steps of the PR, and Alicia is going to be working on it shortly, is to add in a sample. So right now, this is all just in the source code. He hasn't added in a sample in the PR yet. So yeah, what I'm curious about is just how, hey, there he is. So yeah, he'll be adding in a sample so that basically I want to get a better idea of how templated views are consumed. And so that'll, I think, be the last thing, at least for me, to wrap my mind around this and be comfortable pushing forward with it. But yeah, there he is. So still working on the sample page. Yeah, no rush, man. I appreciate all your help. And I know you had, you moved houses recently, and that's kind of life's getting in the way, as it always does. But yeah, just want to give an update on this. This is still around. This is still something we want to implement. Although again, if you looked at it from the outside in, it might look like it's still not approved and we're not moving forward with it. But still baby steps. How about you guys? Do you guys know more about me than templated views and how those get implemented, and what makes it a templated view versus a content view, all those intricacies?
Matthew in the comments is saying it seems like a good approach.
Let's see. The nice thing about templated views is you can replace the control entirely with a style and no C# code. Matthew, I don't know how I feel about that one, but certainly I'll be playing around with it in C#. But yeah, so I guess we'll see how that sample looks, and then we'll keep pushing forward. We'll keep fighting the good fight for the rating view. Taking a beating in the comments, but I love it. Give me the C#. Get rid of that XAML stuff. Okay, last one on our agenda today. And actually, James, awesome that you're here, because it'll be cool to see how you see things, because sometimes we can be too deep into the library and kind of fail to see the forest for the trees. But
this has been a confusing, this particular issue here has been a confusing issue for me off and on, not just with this particular library, but with many libraries where there's very inconsistent behavior between different packages, and I have to sit there and play with my CS project files because of issues like this. And I ultimately know enough about each of the packages I'm using that I can just make it work. But for anybody who's, say, a new developer, they're going to look at this and they're just not going to be able to compile it all.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly my concern too, right? Because I chimed in on here. I mean, ultimately, Sean answered the question, but I was like, yeah, I do all of my development on Mac using Rider, so I just update the .NET SDK manually and just do sudo .NET workload install MAUI, and so like, didn't even occur to me that this could be a thing. But yeah, he's totally right because the recommended way to install .NET MAUI is through the Visual Studio installer or the Visual Studio updater. And right now, the current stable release of Visual Studio is still on MAUI 8.0.7. So, yeah, kind of my question to the rest of the maintainers, to the community is what's the best way that we should do this? Should we stick to keeping the toolkit using the latest Visual Studio stable dependency version of .NET MAUI? Would that make it easier for
I
most developers?
I like it the way it is. Maybe we should just update the docs and mention that we're doing it this way and how to fix it in your project. I guess it's not hard to stay current. I mean, like we're not on the bleeding edge, but we're on what's current. And if people are mixing and matching their testing for the current, like our library is tested against what's current and what's currently being used at stable, and it's it could actually probably cause problems if we changed it. We could just communicate it better what we're doing.
So I don't disagree, and certainly as power users, it's more of an annoyance. But no, I loved what you said earlier, James, about like if I'm a new developer
Yeah,
and I've been told to use .NET MAUI and that everybody should be using the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit, which I totally agree with. And you go to install it, and then all of a sudden, installing the NuGet package breaks the
breaks
build.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and so would it be best to, because certainly as a library owner, I'd love to stay on the latest current. That makes the most sense to me, but certainly I would rather more people be successful out of the box because
I don't know if there's a bit of extra context that Matthew's added in the comments. It looks like it's because he's put CS projects don't have the project reference. I think that means package reference. Because old projects old projects weren't designed to use NuGet packages because they didn't exist. So it was relying on the workloads. He says here new projects should bring in package references.
so my understanding or my interpretation is that if you look in the CS proj file, it'll reference Microsoft MAUI controls, but for the version, it uses this variable, the variable MAUI version, which looks at the current MAUI workload you have installed and then brings in whatever the latest NuGet package version of that
Yeah,
number
but you
is.
can also manually set the MAUI version, and that is where a lot of people are, or at least I've noticed a lot of people have had issues, at least when I look on Reddit and on Stack Overflow, is there'll be version conflicts because they'll use the way it's supposed to be the MAUI version, and then they won't go and set the MAUI version or like use MAUI version and set like 8.0.14 or 8.0.7. They won't set it correctly, and then they'll mix and match their libraries with the Microsoft libraries with a combination of MAUI version and then a specific number. And being new developers, they don't understand the difference, and it gets to be a huge mess. I don't
Yeah,
have that issue myself, but I've seen it happen.
yeah. Cliff, what are your thoughts?
Go on, I think
Andy leaves.
yeah, no,
Total
I
power
think
move.
turn the camera off. Yeah, run away. I agree actually with James. Leave as is, but put a box in the comments that explains why. Because it's like you say, you don't get to see the issue, do you? Because you're on Rider. Others on Windows might be on Rider, but if you're in VS, then yeah, you don't really want to force people to have to use the preview version of VS. So I think just explain it and let them understand how to update it.
And then going forward, should we have a rule or policy in place that we don't bump our NuGet dependency until it's trickled through down to the Visual Studio stable release?
I hate to be held up by the release cycle of different products as well, because
sometimes they involve critical bug fixes that they push out right away that actually fix real world problems that people are having. Like over the last 2 years, we've had issues where, I know grid was just misbehaving or stack layout was just misbehaving, and they would push out these fixes right away. And if you went in and set MAUI version and to either the preview or the beta or current or whatever, it would fix the issue. But the people who were most loudly complaining couldn't or wouldn't adapt to all the fixes. Like they couldn't, like the people that can't say we point to a preview release and they go download the latest nugget from NuGet, or they'll download the latest NuGet and don't understand what we mean when we say, could you download the preview release or get the latest main? Those are the people that are most prevalently going to have this issue. The people that, we have to filter out the bug reports for, or at least you used to have to filter them out for when people forgot to add, like say, media element package, and they couldn't figure out why media element wasn't working until you fix that, and then refused to revert it when everybody complained. I guess like there's issues like that, but I'm just simply trying to give both points of view. I actually it makes no difference to me either way. I can just work with that.
Yeah.
Do we need are we using the latest MAUI version though, or is it just the fact that we're just tracking it because we have the MAUI version in CS Prod?
So,
well, we set it manually.
Yeah, so basically the way we've got this set up is we have a direct reference to that NuGet package because obviously we need it for our NuGet package. And so the way I've set it up to configure that is I've created this MAUI package version variable. And if we zoom all the way out back to our build props here, that's where we'll find our current version that we're targeting. So, I don't see the need to roll this back. I think that's an overcorrection. But yeah, I'm interested in playing around with this. Kind of like Matt in the comments is saying he's kind of testing why the warning appears. The IDE should update the dependencies all the same. Yeah, I think something that maybe we all do is just head over to Visual Studio, create a new .NET MAUI project on the current stable release, add a reference to community toolkit.maui, and just kind of see what happens. And if it does throw a build error, then that's certainly not the experience I want any developer to have when they add our NuGet packages. But if it's a build warning, I might be cool with a build warning, and I say we stay current on the latest version of targeting the latest version of .NET MAUI here. But yeah, it kind of sounds like this coming together. It's the tooling, it's the library. Luckily, we've got Matthew, one of the engineers, hanging out with us in the comments. So we know the team's aware of it. But yeah, certainly, I don't want to make the onboarding experience any harder than it needs to be for new developers. but certainly warnings versus errors, I could be persuaded if it's just a warning, then we'd be fine. But
I think it is. Ultimately, it's a warning saying that the package is being downgraded because there's a dependency on 807, and the packet Toolkit is referencing 8014. I think
okay.
that's what. But then, if people have warnings as errors on, then obviously it becomes an error. But that's, I guess, their decision.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I say over the next couple weeks, let's just at least I'll try it once. Between three of us, the four of us, James, if you want to play around with the two, or five of us, Matthew, if you want to join in the fun.
I think
Just kind of see what that new user experience is like, and just kind of remember you don't know anything. You're no longer a subject matter expert. You're trying something out for the first time. How does this feel? But yeah, I think if it's just a warning, I would feel comfortable staying current. I think that's what Matthew's recommending to us. Scrolling up through the comments, yeah, using the toolkit to push the MAUI version forward, so that the more folks that use the toolkit, the more folks that will get the latest .NET MAUI NuGet package.
I will mention that I just went to add it to a fresh version, and it wouldn't even add. It gave me an error message, basically telling me, so you literally can't add it right now without going and messing around in the CS project file.
Yep. Okay. That's certainly not a good thing. All right.
I didn't even think about it.
There's our answer.
Do we need it to be 8.14 in? Are we using anything between 8.7 and 8.14?
In this scenario, possibly not. But I guess the question comes is if there is a breaking change that we need to put, or if there is a critical fix that comes in that we want to ship.
Yeah.
Then we have to consider how we're going to approach it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
no, I mean, to be honest with you, I think it was Vlad brought it up. And it's like, hey, why don't we bump our dependency on Microsoft MAUI controls? Like, any reason not to? And it's like, no, I can't think of any reason not to. Let's do it. But now we found our reason not to. So, yeah, I'd say certainly for now, the answer is, definitely documentation. Sean, I don't know if that's something, or what your thoughts on that, if that's something you want to add to the docs about. If you see this, could also be a Stack Overflow question and answer, copy and pasting that warning message. But I think that certainly sucks. Okay. Thanks, man. Yeah, because that's not fun for any new user to try and just add our library and get told no.
Yeah, there was a few libraries that when I went to add them when I was brand new, where I literally didn't have the XLMNS reference, and I would spend hours looking up online. And at least the great thing about this project was it was so incredibly easy to install and use as a first-time developer with .NET MAUI. It was so incredibly easy that it was incredibly easy to use. Yeah.
Well, we'll say to wrap things up. Agreed, James. But yeah, Matthew says if anybody does see this error, all you have to do is first update the MAUI NuGets using the NuGet package manager in Visual Studio. So literally just hit the update button. It'll update your NuGet packages to the latest. But yeah, I'd say in the meantime, Sean, if you could throw some docs together that kind of say the same thing, that'll certainly help folks. Certainly copy pasting that error message that pops up in the NuGet package manager, Sean, and pasting that into our docs should help ensure SEO brings them right to our docs when they Google it. But yeah, I'd say at least for the time being, and Matthew, keep us updated if anything changes in the tooling. But certainly for the time being, we don't want that experience. And I say let's be cognizant of whatever version of Visual Studio is targeting, then we'll at least stick to that as our maximum Microsoft MAUI controls dependency for now. So, whew, crazy. Like I said, I do all my stuff on a Mac. I'm so glad, Tom, that you brought this up because didn't even occur to me that this could be a thing. So,
When he said
my
that, I was actually
apologies.
surprised, so I updated Visual Studio just to double check, and it is behind. And the
Yeah,
preview's on
and
it because they've released at 8.21 now as well, isn't there? Which is what preview Visual Studio is running.
yeah, and I'm scrolling back trying to find. Matthew even mentioned Matt Leibowitz here about kind of their update cadence. So if I can find it,
It's about a
we've only
month
got
behind, I
about a
think.
minute or two left. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Dang, I can't find it in the comments, but yeah, essentially, it sounds like they published the new NuGet, then that new version of MAUI will make its way to the Visual Studio preview branch, and then about a month is how long the preview uh, ends up baking for. So, uh, yeah, I think we'll be about a month behind, but crazy things you got to worry about these days, right? Thanks, workloads. But with that, that was the last thing on the agenda. Sean, Cliff, James, anything else you want to touch on before we call it a day and see everybody in June?
No, not from me.
Not from me.
Happy Made, everybody.
Yeah. So
Thanks for coming on.
Joel's going to release tomorrow, and then we're going to have the weekend off. That's what I heard.
I did
Yeah.
want to give
Sounds
a
good to
shout
me.
out that
Yeah.
one of the bug fixes that I did do was due to one of the community members submitting what he thought was a workaround, but was actually a big fix for iOS for the controls. He submitted basically a fix that I adopted and then was had adopted from what I did. I think by Brandon. I'm not sure it was either Brandon or Sean. I'm pretty sure took a look at it and just adjusted it a bit further. And hopefully this will be our final fix before iOS gets changed again and they break it again.
Gotta love
iOS
it,
18.
right? The life of a mobile app developer.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll be back next month. Always the same time. It's the first Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific. If you can join us, come join us. If not, leave some thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you next month. Have a great day.